Hello there, welcome to the Hockey Desk. I'm your host, Colin Babcock, and I'm here to talk a little bit of hockey. Two big games for the Quinnipiac Bobcats men's ice hockey team this weekend. Friday night they host Cornell, and Saturday night they host Colgate. And I'm joined here by two experts, Arthur Lane, he's from California, and Marty Joseph, codename Mojo. How you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Fantastic.
You ready to start or what?
Let's get it.
All right, so the first very important question. Bobcats in their last 6 games are going 3-3, losing to teams that they shouldn't be. What's the reason for this? Why are they going out there and losing to teams that they just, frankly, they shouldn't be?
I think it's inconsistency. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, you see the games. Merrimack's the biggest one, I think, because Merrimack, they came in here and they didn't play too well in that first period of the game at the bank. They took control of the game the rest of the way, and it looked like that was an easy two-game sweep. They had the lead up in Merrimack. They let it get away from them in the third period. And even you could say the same thing in the St. Lawrence game. The third period, they didn't play well. So whether it's a matter of finishing games in the third period or whether it's a matter of just putting 2 games together in one weekend, that's the biggest struggle. Other than that, I think the defense is something to look at. You have plays where it just didn't happen in the defensive zone last year. You got players wide open in front of the net. Gartig's leaving rebounds out that last year's senior core would get out of the way, and they're just being laid into the empty nets. So I think it's a group effort at this point, but I think inconsistency is definitely the biggest reason why they're 3-3 in the last six games.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it's the Saturday afternoon or Saturday night third period, the sixth period of the weekend, and they're just showing that they're out of energy, and I just think that has something to do with it. You give up a couple leads in the third period to teams that are inferior to you, so I look at that. But then again, they got. Brown came out on last Saturday and took it right to them in the first period. So I think it's just a high of beating a ranked team and then having to gain some energy for the next night against a team that's not on the same level.
Yeah, it's definitely tough playing like a late Friday night game and then having to get up a little bit earlier. Your sleep schedules, it's all kind of off, and that could seem very well the reason. And as you guys mentioned, the big game against Cornell, they're going to face a really good, really strong goaltender in Andy Isles. And I want to know, how do you beat Andy Isles?
Well, it's hard to beat Andy Isles. I think we can all agree on that. He's the best goaltender in the entire ECAC. So I think that they just have to get a lot of movement with the puck, spread, space, a couple redirects, things like that are things that Isles cannot prepare for. And I think, a couple power play goals are going to be really important when you have that extra defender and you can move the puck a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think this year's offense is a little bit built better than last year's offense in terms of making chances. You see they're number 3 overall in total offense, third to only.
But they lost all those seniors.
But I mean, the talent that's come into this program this year, I think, has a little bit more skill overall as an offensive standpoint. Defensively, you probably give it to last year's class, but I think offensively, this is the team that can probably run and gun with some of the better teams in the nation, and especially the ECAC, a conference that's really built by their defense. So I think for them to beat Andy Isles, I think they just need to do what they did last year in the playoffs. They need to get bodies in front of him. They need to create traffic. He's not a big guy. He's really quick, but he's not a big guy. He's only 5'9". So if they can get some of those bigger bodies like Bryce Van Brabant, Jordan Samuels-Thomas, if he gets back in uniform this weekend, he's going to be a big factor. And then you got the speed and skill of the top line. Pecker and St. Denis have been great together ever since they've been put together over the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, they know what they can do to beat the top-tier goalies in the conference. Offense isn't really the problem right now, I don't think. I think it's keeping the puck out of the net. I think they should be more worried about keeping the puck out of their own net against Cornell than beating Andy Isles, because I think it's going to be a really low-scoring game. I think it could be a 2-1, a 3-1, a 3-2 game. So they have the offensive firepower to score on Andy Isles, but I think they need to focus on keeping the offensive talent for Cornell out of their zone as well.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Andy Isles could keep it a really low-scoring game. Now, Cornell and Colgate, they match up a little bit differently against the Bobcats. Cornell relies a little bit more on Andy Isles, whereas Colgate, night in, night out, they can put the numbers up on the board offensively, but they struggle on the goal and the defensive side. Which one presents more of a tougher challenge for the Bobcats this weekend, Arthur?
I think it's definitely Andy Isles and Cornell, just because, like we've been talking about, Andy Isles is a great defender, and the Bobcats' strength this year has clearly been the offense. Now, with Colgate, their goalie, Charlie Finn, is not as strong. He's pretty inexperienced, and he lets up a lot of big goal games. And so in that game, the defense for the Bobcats is going to be more important, and I expect them to put up a good amount of goals in that game. So I think that the problem is, like Marty was saying, the defense. How is the defense going to respond against Cornell? Because they're a high-skill team. They're one of the best teams skill-wise in the ECAC offensively as well as in the goal. So I think that that's going to play a huge role. So they, an early goal against Cornell could go a really long way.
Mojo, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think that Colgate's style is a little bit more run and gun, and I think that Quinnipiac matches a lot better up with that. And like you said, the inexperience in goal, Quinnipiac has capitalized that, especially the last couple of weeks. Look at Alex Lyon against Yale, putting 4 goals against him. They did it against Merrimack. They did it against Clarkson too. So if they can jump right out against Colgate and get an early goal, I think that has the makings of a game where they could really run away with. But I think the game Friday night is something you definitely have to key on, because that's going to be a battle. They're going to be motivated to come in here after losing in the playoffs last year in this building. And I think it's going to be just like the Clarkson game. There's going to be a lot of physical play. There's going to be a lot of penalties. And it's a matter of if Quinnipiac can stay disciplined enough to take out Cornell, and if they have enough gas left in the tank to beat Colgate.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're breaking it down, quite a bit. So I want to know your answers, your predictions for this weekend. Quinnipiac versus Cornell and Quinnipiac versus Colgate. Who wins and why?
I do think Cornell is going to be a challenge. I think it's going to be a game that's going to go into the third period really close. If it's not knotted up, I think it's going to be a 1-goal game. But I think going into these next 4 games, these last 4 games, Quinnipiac's going to be motivated. I think they don't want what's happened the last 3 weeks to happen again. So I think they're going to come away with a 1-goal victory against Cornell. Saturday night, I think it's going to be a little bit more open. I think it's going to be a little back and forth action. But I think they can get maybe a 4 or 5-3 win against Colgate.
I'm going to go 2-1 against Cornell, and I'm going to go 4-2 against Colgate. Huge weekend for the Bobcats because Colgate's right behind the Bobcats in the ECAC standing. So Colgate's trying to make a run, jump up to the 2 seed, and then with Cornell, it's just a high-skill team. I think that's going to be an excellent college hockey game.
Yeah, it is important to stay above Colgate's. You two both have the Bobcats going 2-0 on the weekend, correct?
If these 2 teams don't get this team up to play, I don't know what will.
All right, well, you've heard it here. I'm Colin Babcock, your host. Talked a little bit of hockey, and that'll do it from the Sports Desk. Join us next time.